40 years ago, the political earth moved. At least in Texas. For the first time since 1870, a Republican was elected governor of Texas. Bill Clements came out of nowhere. Sure, he had founded the world's largest oil and gas drilling company from scratch and had been widely viewed as the finest general manager of the Pentagon as acting or deputy secretary of defense from 1973 to 1977, but in Texas politics he was largely unknown. Clements came from humble roots. He was the most popular boy at Highland Park High School, class president, and an all-state football player, but during the depths of the Great Depression his father filed for bankruptcy. Instead of going to Southern Methodist University on a full scholarship to play football, Clements got on a bus right after he graduated from high school at age 17 and began a career in the oil patch roughnecking in South Texas. In 1978, Clements was a refreshing change from the career politician Democratic machinery that dominated Texas politics. May 6, 1978, Bill Clements leaves the voting booth. After defeating Ray Hutchison decisively in the Republican primary, Clements faced Texas Attorney General John Hill in the general election. Clements began the race behind more than 50 points. His victory in November 1978 was probably the greatest upset in Texas political history. No one saw it coming. And yet, a bitter split between liberal and conservative Democrats set the stage for a sea change in Texas politics. Two men made it happen, one Democrat, and one Republican. Lyndon Johnson walked a tightrope over the chasm between liberal and conservative Democratic politics for decades, successfully. Until his presidency. As president, Johnson passed progressive legislation through the Great Society and his war on poverty. Johnson exacerbated the liberal-conservative divide among Democrats, embittering conservatives, which led to his protege John Connally switching parties as Richard Nixon's Treasury Secretary. The split culminated in liberal John Hill defeating incumbent Governor Dolph Briscoe in the 1978 Democratic primary. Briscoe's loss cracked open the door to Texas becoming a two-party state, although this was not evident in the moment. Another day, another Democrat running for president. How will this shake out? Clements kicked the door open. He brought business best practices to politics, appointing a county chairman in all 254 Texas counties for the first time in history, and applying cutting-edge technology, at the time, to his campaign operation, just as he had in his business, Sedco. Through force of personality, quintessential Texas life story, financial resources, and identification with mainstream Texas voters, Clements squeaked out his victory by approximately 17,000 votes. Texas First Lady Janie Briscoe's endorsement in Gov. Briscoe's implied endorsement didn't hurt either. October 16, 1978, Bill Clements in his Sedco office in Dallas. During his first term in office, Clements applied the same best practices to running state government, eliminating thousands of redundant state governmental jobs, streamlining state operations, and leaving the state with a $1 billion surplus at the end of his first term. Clements was and is widely viewed as one of the most astute governors in history at appointing the best of the best to statewide boards and commissions. Among his thousands of appointees were many Republicans but also conservative Democrats, many of whom converted to the Republican Party over time. Despite a defeat in 1982 at the depths of a severe national recession with 11% unemployment, Clements roared back in 1986, securing a second term and ending his political season of life as the longest-serving governor in Texas history, a record that stood until Gov. Rick Perry's tenure. Republicans, in large part due to Clements' labors and legacy, as of 2022 will have held every executive or judicial branch statewide office for 24 years straight, a dominant track record exemplifying Texas's evolution from a two-party to one-party state. More than any other leader, Clements paved the way for the limited government, conservative business-like approach the state government Republicans have utilized as their political playbook ever since. Today, like in 1978, the dominant state political party is split between mainstream Reagan, Clements Republicans and Libertarian Republicans, which, if possible, is more conservative and certainly more divisive than Reagan, Clements Republicanism. If Republicans are to maintain their dominance over state politics and government, they will have to heal their divisions and appeal to a broader coalition of Texans, many of whom are apolitical, while culturally and fiscally conservative. Ronald Reagan with Bill Clements in 1986 at the Dallas Apparel Mart. They were there for a fundraiser for Clements as he sought to return to the governor's mansion. Inter-party squabbles over trivial differences appear to have cracked the door open for Texas Democrats, who as a group are significantly more liberal than their predecessors of a generation ago. Texans demand effective limited government, not aimless disputes and grievances for political posturing alone. Texan Republicans would be wise in 2019, 40 years after Clements' historic victory, to remember his legacy or face a reversal of fortune in short order. Clements was always most concerned about what was in the best interests of Texas and for the common good of all Texans, above political party or selfish agendas. He viewed himself as the heir to the early Texas settlers who called themselves Texians, personified by their love of liberty, fierce personal autonomy, and willingness to fight for a free, independent and strong Texas. A Texian perspective as exhibited by Clements would be the prime model for future state success for Texas Republicans and all of Texas. Otherwise, a two-party state and Democratic resurgence may prove inevitable in the near future. George Say is founder and chairman of investment firm Annandale Capital and founder of the Clements Center for National Security at the University of Texas at Austin. He wrote this column for the Dallas Morning News. Got an opinion about this issue? Send a letter to the editor, and you just might get published.